The little girl only wanted to help keep her feverish sister cool, so she turned down the air conditioner for a moment. She never expected that her biased mother would think she was competing for attention. Although the mother later realized something was wrong, she was still angry. In order to teach her daughter a deep lesson, she deliberately opened the refrigerator and forced the little girl to climb inside to reflect on herself. Because of extreme fear, the little girl had no choice but to obey her mother and climb into the fridge. The mother coldly said, "When you figure it out, you can come out by yourself. Do you hear me?" The husband tried to persuade his wife not to be so impulsive. But the woman mercilessly shut the refrigerator door. What the couple forgot was that not long ago, they had seen news about a tragedy caused by a child accidentally getting trapped inside a refrigerator. Out of fear that something similar could happen, they had installed a strong lock on the fridge. At this moment, they did not realize that a 5-year-old child had absolutely no strength to get out. Seeing that their younger daughter was suffering from a very high fever, they hurriedly carried her to the hospital. Little did they know, this would be the last time they would ever see their older daughter. At this time, the little girl was still desperately knocking on the refrigerator door. She didn't understand. She only wanted her sister to cool down. Why was her mother so angry? But the house was already empty, and all her efforts were useless. As time passed, her body gradually froze and became covered with frost. She never meant to hurt her sister. At that moment, the girl's father rushed back home. He shouted for his daughter several times but didn't see her. He suddenly thought of opening the refrigerator to check if she had come out. However, at the critical moment, his wife stopped him and said, "Husband, I asked you to get a scarf for Jinjin. What are you doing?" Because of this, they missed the last chance to save their daughter's life. The little girl had already lost her life. Before losing consciousness, she had a dream. In the dream, she was not scolded by her parents. She was still their most beloved little princess. She was no longer trapped in the cold metal box, and her mom and dad held her tightly in their arms, but reality was cruel. The little girl had passed away forever. When her parents eventually returned home with her sister, the little girl had become a wandering soul. She didn't know what had happened. She only hoped that her parents wouldn't be angry with her anymore. Meanwhile, the couple felt strange. Why hadn't they seen their daughter come out yet? Why was this child still refusing to listen? They were sure she was throwing a tantrum in her room. Soon, the husband and wife went to their daughter's room. When they saw the quilt raised high on the bed, they thought the little girl was pretending to sleep out of anger. Seeing this, the woman scolded her, saying it was all her fault that her sister had to go to the hospital with a high fever. The father also told her to be more sensible and quickly apologized to her mother. Seeing that the child on the bed did not move at all, the woman decided to teach her another lesson. She picked up the little girl's favorite doll. The little girl cried and begged her mother not to do it, because the doll was a birthday gift from her parents and she had always cherished it like a treasure. But no one could hear her cries. She could only watch as her mother tore the doll apart and threw it on the ground. When she saw her parents leave the room angrily, she finally realized that she was already dead. "Mom, Dad. Did you forget that I'm still at home?" The next morning, the couple didn't see their daughter come out for breakfast. They thought she was still angry and being stubborn. But the father worried she might be hungry, so he placed her favorite soy milk and fried dough sticks by her bedside. Before leaving, he even reminded her loudly that her favorite cake was on the table and told her to come out and eat later. "Thank you, Dad. But I can't anymore." After the father left for work, Grandma Zhang from next door came to visit. After chatting for a while, she quietly took the cake from the table while the mother wasn't paying attention. This made the woman mistakenly think her daughter had secretly stolen the food. When the husband came home, the woman complained again, saying their daughter was becoming more and more selfish. She suggested taking a rest the next day and going camping as a family of 3, leaving the child at home to reflect on herself. The next morning, the little girl wanted to go out with her parents, but in her current state, she was terrified of sunlight and couldn't leave the house. She could only watch as her parents left without her. She curled up alone on the living room sofa, waiting for them to come back. When the couple returned home, it had already been 3 days since the little girl was locked in the refrigerator. Seeing that their daughter didn't come out to greet them, the woman thought she was still angry because they hadn't taken her camping. Unexpectedly, the doorbell suddenly rang. It was the parent of her kindergarten classmate. "Hello, are you Galaxy's parents? My daughter Tian Tian is Galaxy's classmate. She hasn't been to school for several days." At this moment, the property management staff also rushed over and said they had received a report that their daughter was missing and needed to check. The woman immediately insisted that her daughter was lying and taking revenge because they didn't take her camping. She turned around and prepared to go to the room to teach her another lesson. When she pulled off the quilt, she found only a pile of dolls underneath. Even then, she firmly believed her daughter had sneaked out to play and didn't care, but the classmates' parents noticed the moldy soy milk and fried dough sticks on the table. They were already spoiled and clearly hadn't been eaten for days. The property staff said that neighbors had reported seeing the little girl disappear several days ago. They asked the couple to think carefully about when they last saw their daughter. Only then did the woman finally mention that she had slapped her daughter, locked her in the refrigerator, and told her to calm down. She said she had let the child come out on her own and believed nothing could happen. However, when they approached the refrigerator, they found it was locked. A lock that a 5-year-old could never open. The property staff urgently asked the couple to confirm whether the child was truly out. The husband said he hadn't seen her, but he thought she was just being petty and didn't take it seriously. At this moment, the couple completely panicked. They couldn't imagine the consequences if their daughter had never come out of the refrigerator. With trembling hands, the woman slowly opened the refrigerator door, and what appeared before her was a scene she would regret for the rest of her life.